The American Battlefield Trust started preserving the slaughter pen farm in 2006 at a cost of $12 million, and it became the most expensive piece of ground that anybody had tried to save. It's a huge effort, and the trust just announced this summer that it has paid off its note. There are a lot of people that were involved in that, including the Central Virginia Battlefield Trust, which ponied up $1 million of its own. The state of Virginia really invented some matching funds programs to help make that happen, and of course, just literally thousands of individual donors who are writing checks of $5, $10, $20 and more to really make this possible. And so it's a really cool opportunity to celebrate a significant piece of ground that helped us redefine how we understand an entire Civil War battlefield, which is what makes this preservation project so important.
It's always interesting talking to you about this place, because you can point out so many things that did happen, and we can see it and we don't have to imagine.
Having a battlefield is like having a primary source that is invaluable and irreplaceable. And so we're going to walk across this field in just a second and see how the topography changes. And that's going to help you appreciate why it's important to have the piece of ground to begin with. Where we're standing at here, off to my right, you can see modern Route 2 riding down behind me there toward Bowling Green to the south. And that's where the federal position is going to then fortify along there with artillery. And they're going to move from my right to my left in the Confederate position over there. As we walk across this same piece of ground, I want you to note how it changes as we go. Right now, Ted, as we're standing here looking behind me, looks pretty straight and flat, doesn't it?
Yeah, very, very.
You guys are in for some surprises. Let's take a walk down the road. We got a 1.75 mile walking path here, and we're going to walk on part of it. Yeah, so we're walking down the driveway. We're about 100 yards from our last stop. And Ted, what do you see in the field here next to me?
It's a ditch, or there's water in it, though.
Yep, it is a ditch. It's called the Virginia Ditch Fence, and they used this for irrigation at the time. This would bring water out into the field, and they could use that for the crops. It would also serve to separate parts of the property, one section from another. And as we were walking down here, did you see this ditch fence from where we were before?
No.
No, and neither did the Union soldiers. As they were advancing across this field in their formation, shoulder to shoulder, wearing their greatcoats, they suddenly stumble upon this ditch fence. Now, it had snowed several days prior to the battle, but on the day of the battle, temperatures get up into almost 60 degrees. So these fields are muddy. That water has drained off into this ditch, which has, about 3 feet of standing water in it. And suddenly these soldiers stumble across it, not expecting it because they couldn't see it. They have to splash their way through, slipping and sliding with their shoes with no soles and trying to get through the mud, and then get back into their formation on the other side. And as you look over here, you can see that it's not a straight ditch across the field. It curves and twists and it's got crooks in it. So that means the Union position, as they're advancing, they hit this ditch fence at different points. So this throws off the entire formation as these troops are advancing. Now, if your point is to mash your power and push forward, this breaks your momentum almost at the start. And they've got to get on the other side, get back into formation, and continue forward. And we're going to follow in their footsteps. So as we're continuing on the path, you'll notice that there's corn planted behind me right now. There was corn planted this season before the battle. It had been harvested in the fall, obviously. But think about all the corn stubble across this field as the troops are advancing. And now you've got these little punji sticks sticking up out of the mud.
Yeah.
And if your job is to hit the dirt at any point, you're going to get stabbed by all these corn stalks. It seems like a small thing, but throw yourself on a little stick and see what happens.
Well, and think about the shoes, the footwear that they would have had.
So this is a muddy, muddy field, and these guys are wearing shoes with smooth leather soles. So you're not getting any sort of traction, so there's a lot of slipping and sliding. We'll keep following and see where they end up.
As we stand here, Chris, it strikes me just the importance that we all play in this, that our $25, $50, $100 individual donations, that kind of stuff's important.
They all add up. And one of the things that we have to remember is that the resources that we have in this area are unique to this area. They don't have them anyplace else. They've got strip malls everywhere. They've got housing developments everywhere. They've got traffic jams everywhere. They don't have battlefields everywhere. And even the battlefields that we have are unique among battlefields. And the fact that we've got 4 major history-changing resources in our own backyard is a treasure that most Americans don't have the opportunity to take advantage of.
And you take a look at this place and just think, what could have been? And the fact that we are standing out here and you are able to point all these things and not have to use over there by the, what would have been a strip mall or a gas station or whatever, because it starts with one of those, and we've seen what happens around this area. It starts with one and things pop up.
How many people drive through the Salem Church battlefield every day and don't even realize when they're driving through a battlefield, because there's just a postage stamp of preserved land, and the rest of the landscape not only has been built up, but has been trucked away by the dump truck full. I mean, that whole landscape has just been altered so irrevocably, and now people don't even realize that they're driving through it. And yet history changed on that ground. Lives were lost there. Medals of honor were earned there. It's hallowed ground because of the sacrifices people made so that we could have our lives today.
And I just can't help but think, and you want to thank people with the Central Virginia Battlefield Trust and the other groups that have been involved, and the people that fight for this kind of thing and look at this and do what they can to save what they can.
And we talk a lot about fighting to save hallowed ground, and it does feel that way, but we're always looking for win-win situations where the county can win, the developers can win, historical resources can win, history fans can win, because we can all stand to gain from partnerships that elevate all of us and lift all of us up.
No, and on a real basic level, you just think of how many people have come just to this spot over the years. The economic gains for this region are pretty substantial because of land like this.
Tens of millions of dollars come into our local economy because of tourists who come here and they spend money on lunch and they get a room overnight and they're buying gas and they're buying souvenirs to take home with them. And it's a destination. People come from all over the country here, and we sort of forget about it because it's just our backyard. People come from all over the world to walk these grounds.